Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a true interstellar enigma. Scientists have given it the name 3I/Atlas, but its behavior is so bizarre that some are calling it a physically impossible comet. We're going to unpack exactly why this visitor from the depths of space is just shattering all scientific expectations, and we'll take a look at what its very mysterious arrival could mean.
So let's just start with the question you see on the screen. What if an object, right now, hurtling through our solar system is just unlike anything we have ever seen before? Because here's the kicker. Right now, at the single most critical point of its entire journey past our sun, we've gone completely blind to it. We have absolutely no idea what's happening out there. Okay, let's get into it. We're going to build the case file on why this interstellar object, 3I/Atlas, is just so profoundly strange. First thing you need to know, its speed is just incredible. As it's making its closest pass by the sun, it is clocking in at a blistering 68 kilometers per second. I mean, that is moving. But the weirdness just keeps on stacking up. Its trajectory, it's lined up almost perfectly with the plane of our solar system, which is highly, highly unusual for an interstellar visitor. It's also huge, maybe up to 50 kilometers wide. And get this, it literally changed color, going from red to green. Oh, and the light coming off it has a polarization curve unlike any object we have ever measured. Now let's talk about its composition. So a typical comet we see in our solar system has a coma. That's the gas cloud that surrounds it, made of water, CO2, a bunch of other stuff. But 3I/Atlas, it's different. Its coma is almost pure carbon dioxide. That points to a totally different origin, or a totally different history than any comet we're familiar with. And here, this might be its most bizarre feature of all. You know, basic physics tells us that a comet's tail gets pushed by the solar wind, so it always points away from the sun. Always. But a big part of the tail from 3I/Atlas seems to be pointing towards the sun. Physically, that just shouldn't be possible. So you add all of these anomalies up and it becomes really, really hard to just call it a comet. It pretty much defies all our existing definitions, which leads to this one central question we just can't answer right now. So, with science leaving us with a whole lot more questions than answers, the source material that we're digging into here actually proposes a different way to look at all this. It kind of shifts the focus from what the object is physically to what its arrival might actually mean on an energetic and symbolic level. The source we're looking at really puts this idea forward that this is more than just a material event. It argues that the timing of this object's arrival is so incredibly precise that it kind of invites us to think about what it might represent on a whole other level. Okay, so to really get this interpretation, we need one key term, perihelion. All this means is it's the point in an object's orbit when it gets closest to the sun. That's when it's getting blasted with the maximum amount of solar energy and influence. And here is where the timing gets really interesting, according to the source. On October 29th, at the exact moment of its perihelion, 3I/Atlas locked into this very precise and very powerful astrological alignment called a grand cross. So, according to this archetypal reading, these 4 points created this powerful cosmic tension. Let's break it down real quick. On one axis, you have 3I/Atlas in Virgo, which is seen as an archetype of healing and bringing order out of chaos. It's directly opposite Chiron, the wounded healer, and Eris, a symbol of discord and strife. So right there, you've got this tension between order and chaos. Then, squaring that axis, you've got Jupiter, representing expansion, just making everything bigger, and Pluto, the archetype of deep, powerful transformation. The idea here is that all these energies are locked in this dynamic, high-stakes game. So, what does it all mean when you put it together? Well, this interpretation suggests the alignment is signaling a period of really intense change. That tension between healing and discord, amplified by transformation, it points to a major crisis, maybe in our health, our systems, or our beliefs. But the crucial point here is that this disruption is seen as an opportunity for profound growth. It's presented like a cosmic challenge to get our collective house in order. But look, whether you see this thing as a space rock or a cosmic messenger, we are now faced with a very real and very immediate problem. As of right now, we can't see it. It has passed behind the sun from our perspective here on Earth. This whole event is called a superior conjunction, and what it means for us is that we are completely in the dark.
And this timeline really shows you just how critical this bland spot is. We lost sight of the object on October 21st, just before its most intense encounter with the sun on the 29th. We won't get our first peek at it again until late November, maybe even December. So we're just left in suspense. Did it survive its fiery pass by the sun? Did that intense solar energy change it in some fundamental way? Did it break apart? We have no new data, and we simply have to wait. And that leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. When this enigmatic visitor finally emerges from behind the sun, what will have changed? Will we see a different object in our telescopes? Or after this period of intense energy and reflection, will we be looking at it with different eyes?
Welcome to The Debate. Today, we are focusing on one of the most compelling and frankly confusing objects to ever slice through our solar system, the interstellar object 3IE Celatus. Now, this fast-moving visitor is currently approaching its perihelion. That's its closest approach to the sun, which is set for October 29.
And crucially, we are right now in a period where we can't see it. The solar glare, especially around the superior conjunction on October 21st, means the object is basically hidden from our view here on Earth, introducing this huge period of uncertainty into the whole story.
Precisely. And that period of blindness really highlights the central tension surrounding 3I Atlas. So the core question for us today is this. Is the object's primary significance really rooted in the hard empirical data? Its highly anomalous physical characteristics that seem to challenge all our astrophysical models. Or perhaps, should we prioritize the profound energetic and, archetypal alignments that coincide precisely with this closest solar approach?
Right. And I contend that framing this event purely through that sort of materialistic lens is, it's missing the fundamental structured synchronicity of its arrival. I believe the alignment is the message here.
Whereas my focus is going to be on the object's identity crisis. Its sheer size, its unprecedented speed, and its complete refusal to conform to any definition of a comet we currently possess. We have to grapple with the physical reality first, I think.
And I'll be zeroing in on the profound astronomical configurations, specifically that powerful grand cross alignment and the really intense archetypal implications these geometries carry regarding, collective healing, spiritual discord, and deep transformation.
So my stance is pretty straightforward. This object's true importance lies entirely in the raw empirical data which frankly forces us to question our current astrophysical framework for interstellar matter. This is far more than just a simple space rock. The data we've received shows extremely anomalous activity across the board.
It is certainly acting strangely, no doubt about that.
It's doing more than acting strangely. It's actively violating our definitions. Let's just look at the scientific dead ends it represents, okay? It exhibits the most extreme negative polarization curve ever observed. Now, for those unfamiliar, polarization tells us about the structure and reflectivity of the object's surface. A typical comet's curve suggests, icy, dusty material. This extreme negative reading suggests something highly unusual, perhaps a very different particle structure, maybe even highly metallic or extremely light absorbing. It just defies our expectations of space ice.
That does sound like a significant scientific hurdle.
It's a foundational hurdle. And compounding this, its dusty coma is composed mostly of carbon dioxide. Most comets are defined by their water ice content. Then you factor in its estimated size ranging from a hefty 5 kilometers across to potentially, maybe, 50 kilometers. It could be the largest interstellar object we've ever detected. Add to that its high nickel to iron ratio and a velocity that accelerates from 58 kilometers per second up to 68 kilometers at perihelion. And let's not forget the weird color-changing behavior, starting red and then glowing green as it got closer to the sun. These physical anomalies are they're unprecedented and screaming for a scientific rewrite.
Okay, I absolutely see why the scientific community is
is struggling with this one. But let me offer a different perspective. My core argument is that the object's primary meaning is actually derived from the precise, synchronistic timing of its closest solar approach. This synchronicity, to me, suggests a powerful, energetic, or perhaps even structured narrative is playing out, rather than the object being just some random statistical anomaly.
The synchronicity might provide meaning, sure, but physics dictates the trajectory.
But the trajectory is exactly what makes the timing so compelling. We're dealing with astronomical configurations that align with, mathematical precision. Most significantly, at the exact moment of perihelion, that's 11:55 a.m. Universal Time on October 29th, 3i Atlas completes a powerful Grand Cross configuration in a true sky zodiac chart.
Right, and just to clarify for our audience, a true sky zodiac chart measures the positions of the planets against the actual sort of irregular boundaries of the constellations, rather than the simplified equal 30-degree signs of traditional Western astrology.
Exactly. And the geometry here is incredibly potent. You have 3 Atlas placed in the constellation of Virgo, which represents healing, health, the practical day-to-day world. This sits in direct opposition to Chiron, known as the wounded healer or the great teacher, which is nearly conjunct Aries, the goddess of discord and chaos.
A pairing that certainly introduces a tension between, let's say, order and disruption.
Precisely, and this healing disruption axis is then squared by the opposition of Jupiter, representing expansion, to Pluto and the Moon, signifying deep transformation, death, rebirth, and the collective body or public consciousness. This Grand Cross really highlights a collective theme centered around spiritual crisis, major health concerns, and the deep internal excavation needed for, global transformation. The fact that this unique, non-conforming object arrives from outside our system to activate these precise energetic flows right at its deepest solar immersion point, it just suggests deliberate, profound timing to me.
Okay, but we need to move beyond symbolism for a moment and grapple with this sheer material identity crisis this object presents. I mean, even if we grant the power of that Grand Cross alignment, the purely physical data shows that 3i Atlas is completely defying expectation. It activated early before Jupiter's orbit, it changed color, it has this unique CO2 coma. How can we meaningfully interpret its message when we can't even scientifically classify the thing itself based on its material properties? The scientific failure, for me, is proof that the material definition is the most important element right now.
That's an interesting point, though I suppose I'd frame it differently. While the scientific community's struggle is certainly evidence of its extraordinary nature, the precision of its astronomical timing suggests that maybe its physical characteristics are actually part of a larger, deliberate, energetic signature. I mean, why does this physical anomaly, which you correctly noted as defying categorization, hit constellations associated with healing and discord, Virgo opposing Chiron Aries, at the exact moment of its closest solar approach? I'm not suggesting consciousness is dictating its path, not at all, but rather that the alignment provides the crucial symbolic lens through which we really have to interpret this pre-existing cosmic event. The object is a messenger, perhaps, and the alignment is the context of that message.
But let's look at the actual mechanism of interaction, though. My concern is less about the message per se, and more about how its proximity will physically affect our solar system. At about 1.4 AU, so 1.4 times the distance between Earth and the Sun, 3i Atlas will be deeply embedded within the Sun's really powerful electric field and solar wind. The Sun is constantly generating this electric field that extends way out into the heliosphere. This object, with its weird metallic ratios and the highly charged CO2 coma, it's going to have maximum interaction with that electromagnetic environment simply because it's strongly aligned, only about 5 degrees off the ecliptic plane.
So you believe the electrodynamics are the critical mechanism for system-level change here?
Absolutely. We have to understand how its unique electrodynamic properties will influence the Sun itself. Will it trigger more solar activity or maybe damp it down? If this massive charged object interacts significantly with the Sun's field, that physical mechanism, the direct electromagnetic influence, is what drives change in the solar system. And that makes the object's material structure the critical piece of information we need.
See, I come at it from a different angle. We know space is alive with electromagnetic energy, sure, but the key, I think, is how that energy is expressed through the system's existing archetypes. The energy exchange really has to be viewed in the context of the powerful planetary nodes it activates. That Grand Cross formation isn't isolated. It's actually enhanced by Jupiter being in a supportive trine configuration, while the Moon conjuncts Pluto. This suggests the object isn't just passively interacting with an electric field. It seems to be activating pre-existing deep energetic flows, these collective death-rebirth processes within the solar system's archetypal field. The alignment itself is the catalyst that determines where and how that raw electromagnetic influence might manifest in, say, human collective experience.
But if we cannot measure the physical consequence of that intense electromagnetic interaction, aren't we just left interpreting symbols? And I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning, especially because the period of complete blindness we are currently experiencing, the superior conjunction, where the object is passing directly behind the sun from our perspective, introduces massive, almost unforgivable scientific uncertainty.
Why do you say unforgivable?
Because it forces a critical data gap precisely when the object is undergoing peak radiated influence from the sun. We simply cannot observe it. We don't know if it will fragment or change radically or even show up where we expect it to post-perihelion. This blindness primarily concerns potential physical changes, like a massive expansion or maybe contraction of its envelope of gas, dust, and plasma caused directly by the sun's powerful energy. We are forced to just wait for empirical confirmation that the object survived its encounter with the sun physically intact. That physical risk, that uncertainty, seems paramount to me.
That's a compelling argument regarding the critical data gap. I grant you that. But have you considered that maybe this forced scientific blindness is itself the most profound component of the archetypal narrative? I mean, the object is receiving the deepest possible solar immersion. You could call it a solar blessing, yet we are unable to witness it. This aligns perfectly, doesn't it, with the theme of unconscious transformation? The lack of visual data forces an internal focus, compelling a collective confrontation with the themes attached to 3i Atlas: health, discord, deep change, without the external crutch of empirical data.
My fear, though, is that framing the blindness as a metaphor for transformation risks dismissing the very real potential physical impact. If the object drastically alters its shape or behavior due to the solar interaction, that could have observable long-term effects on the solar system, effects that absolutely transcend symbolic meaning.
But perhaps the spiritual or collective effect is the long-term impact. You also have to consider the synchronicity of this event occurring within the profound background influence of the Saturn-Neptune Great Conjunction cycle, which is active until 2026. This cycle is fundamentally about dissolving old structures, breaking down the boundaries of what we believe to be real. The fact that 3 Atlases arrives during this period, hides behind the sun, and triggers this specific Grand Cross, well, it suggests the physical mystery might simply be a catalyst for the deeper energetic dissolution of collective reality.
And I still return to the material aspect. When the object finally emerges from behind the sun, maybe mid-November, maybe December, if it has fragmented or if its spectral data has altered dramatically, that empirical change will, in my view, validate my position. The most important factor was the physical anomaly and the physical interaction, not necessarily the celestial alignment. We are just fundamentally vulnerable to the data we're missing right now.
And perhaps the fact that we must wait and rely on faith or intuition during this period of transformation, this period of solar blessing, is the ultimate lesson here.
So, wrapping up, while I certainly acknowledge the compelling nature of the archetypal synchronicities you've described, the unprecedented scientific observations, that extreme negative polarization curve, the anomalous CO2 coma, the accelerating velocity, the massive size estimate, these demand that 3i Atlas be taken seriously as a groundbreaking physical anomaly. I think its primary significance is its material defiance of astrophysical norms. forcing a fundamental rewrite of our understanding of interstellar matter. We are dealing with an object that empirically just shouldn't exist in the way it does.
Conversely, I'd argue that the sheer exactness of the astronomical alignments, the Grand Cross, the Virgo-Chiron opposition, the Pluto conjunction, coupled with the powerful collective themes of health, healing, and spiritual crisis they activate, suggests that the object's greatest impact isn't purely physical. It's energetic and perhaps conscious, a powerful messenger focusing collective attention on inner transformation at the precise moment of its solar activation. The object seems to demonstrate that physics and symbolism are operating absolutely simultaneously.
The mystery definitely deepens until observation can resume.
Indeed, and ultimately both the material characteristics and the profound astronomical context offer unique and, I think, equally valid lenses through which to examine 3/8 Atlas. It really proves the value of integrating multiple expert perspectives to even begin to appreciate the complexity of this extraordinary interstellar event.